You're listening to Under the Shell Podcast. After all these years, still the best in America.
Welcome to Under the Shell, presented by Inside the Black and Gold. I'm Brenda YSL.
Sam Jane.
And Michael House.
This week we are joined by Oluchi Okinawa, coming off a loss at UNC, but more well known right now for a super viral moment with head coach Brenda Frese. We're going to get into all that, but first, Oluchi, thank you for taking the time after the season to chat with us.
Thank you guys for having me.
You've definitely had a lot of interactions with Brenda on the sideline this year. I assume you never think they're going to go super viral. At what point did you realize after the UNC game that clip had not just gone viral in the Maryland community, but really all over the sports world in the United States?
Yeah, right after the game, we were just waiting in the locker room, waiting to go into media. And that's when Rose kind of nudged me, let me know, hey, there's a clip of you and Coach going back and forth. It's getting some traction. You're likely going to be asked about it. So I think that was the first moment that I was like, oh, okay, someone's going to ask me about Coach and I's like her pep talk to me, because I remember it vividly, But I think it wasn't until after everything, we were on the bus, I was looking at my phone, and I was like, oh my goodness, this video's everywhere.
Do you think that in a moment like that, just kind of take us through, because obviously you were this team's kind of leader all season long. And I think that your tournament play, both in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, maybe didn't necessarily at least match the standards you had set in the regular season. So I guess I'm just wondering, what do you think went into that conversation? Had you and Brenda had talks prior to the game about kind of what she needed from you? Why did that sort of pep talk happen? I'm just curious, the lead up to it per se.
Yeah. Well, really, I would say more so that standard kind of fell short for me in the NCAA tournament, just because, the game prior, I only had played 14 minutes just because of foul trouble, but I did have 7 points, which isn't typically where the range I usually score in and whatnot. But I think then obviously leading into UNC, it was just kind of it's one of those games where it's you win or go home. So it's that pep talk happened because it either happens now or never,
Definitely. I didn't want to. Also, I knew that you. I think you scored almost 30 against Oregon, but losing in the first round of the Big Ten tournament isn't exactly standard per se.
No, it was. Yeah.
Do you think that when something like that happens, you talked extensively after the game, Brenda texted you, you said, and then you texted her back. I'm just wondering, when something like that happens, right, a player can take it almost two different ways, right? You can almost hear what the coach is saying and really try to process it, or you can kind of tune them out. Do you think your kind of want and need, you talked about Brenda coaching you hard, that's part of why you transfer here. Do you think that's why she felt comfortable enough to talk to you like that, whereas some other players, she might be a bit more withdrawn, I guess?
Yeah, no, I in order for her to talk to me the way that she did, we needed to have had a relationship, which we already do. She already understands the kind of player I am, and most importantly, the kind of player I want to be. I've shared a lot of my dreams and aspirations, and she knows the version of myself that I want to be. And in order for me to get there, she really does need to apply the pressure, which I've told her numerous times that I welcome it. So that conversation only happens when both the player and the coach are on the same page.
Had you had other kind of pep talks during games like that so far this season, or was it just the circumstances that kind of led to it?
No, we have. And I think that's what makes it so funny, because it was that's why I didn't think anything of it or didn't think about it going viral, just because she's spoken to me in that urgent manner before. It was the Michigan State game. So, we're not shy from open and honest and intense dialogue between us.
Do you just, I guess, when you first got here, right? Kira Lawson's a great coach at Duke, but that's not necessarily her style. She has definitely, I would say, just watching her, I'm not in the locker room, so maybe you can speak differently to it. But Brenda's a different type of coach, I would say, just watching the sideline demeanor. What was the first time you interacted with her where you were okay, this is a Hall of Fame level coach, she's going to bring a different type of intensity? And was that something you guys talked about in the transfer portal, recruiting process? And I'm just kind of trying to figure out when that really came to light for you in the off season, in the early goings, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think every head coach operates differently. They bring a different factor to them and they just do things entirely in their own unique way. So, I mean, I wasn't looking for anyone else in Coach B. I think she's amazing as she is. And she's just, like you said, a Hall of Fame coach. And it's just so evident. And in our first conversation, just like because we spoke the night my name entered the portal, um, I knew I wanted to be coached by her. I just with the experience and the passion and just the attention to detail and everything that she does. I couldn't imagine myself being anywhere else.
Before we get back to the show, here's a quick word from our sponsor. The Catalyst to the Game is brought to you by Catalyst Hot Dogs. Catalyst brought the Jersey Dog to the DMV, featuring premium dry-aged Black Angus all-beef hot dogs made in Maryland, served with handmade toppings including hot onions, relish, and their signature Texas chili sauce. And don't miss their original garlic knot dogs. Catalyst always offers vegan dogs as well as gluten-free buns. Shout out gluten-free buns, because Catalyst has food for everyone. Find them in CQ Stadium in Section 14 and the Xfinity Center in Section 210. Tell the people a hot dog is a sandwich. All right, now here is more Under the Shell. I know you've talked about it a little bit, but how have you kind of dealt with the fallout from the game? Obviously, you guys don't beat UNC, but you have this moment where I assume you've heard from a lot of people, got a lot of attention online. I know you've talked about what that means for Brenda, but how has that been for you where, you don't get the outcome you want in a game, but maybe you get some more of some more personal recognition?
Yeah, I mean, so right after the game, just like as I told you when I was on the bus looking at everything, I actually texted Coach B and I was just like, like this is the only win out of the day. Like obviously we did not get what we wanted, but I'm just so happy everyone can see how amazing of a coach you are. Like so, I like there's nothing else you can really ask for. Of course, we wanted that win so badly, but I think this is kind of just like a silver lining moment.
One thing I wanted to ask you that I haven't seen out there is I think with some players you see, moments like that, maybe, and I don't want to say hard coaching, but intense coaching, right? And their parents, I think maybe, or their circle, like an AAU coach, they haven't necessarily been coached that way. And I think parents can oftentimes get defensive or kind of be like, that's not exactly what I want, right or wrong. Each parent parents their own way. I guess I'm just wondering, like, how have your parents or your inner circle kind of raised you to where that's something that you wanted? Like, did they talk with you about it after the game? Did they ask you? I'm just kind of trying to figure out how, you got to this point with them.
Yeah, I mean, for one, like my parents didn't really blink an eye. Like they were kind of on the same wavelength as me of like, wait, what happened? Why is this clip so special? Like it's just her coaching me. I'm just my parents, both immigrant Nigerian parents, so I like this.
Yeah.
Getting hard coaching, getting hard talking to is like that's been my whole life, and I think they've just instilled in me the respect to elders and to people, especially when like the things like this, people have to understand it's out of love. Like if someone isn't speaking to you like this, then there's a problem. Like the fact that there's such a want and a need to try and help me get to the version of myself that I want to be, and I voice that I want to be. It's really special.
I want to move off the moment now and more so talk about your season. Obviously, we talked to you, Brennan, what it had to be like 5 or 6 months ago now. It feels like a while ago entering the year. And, you kind of didn't even know if you were going to be in the starting lineup. You were just like, yeah, we'll see. It just depends on that type of thing. It's something you wanted, you said, but you weren't sure. Obviously, you blew away, I think, all expectations. You had a stellar year. If you had to pinpoint one thing about your game that really took a leap this season from your time at Duke, what would you highlight it as?
I think just because I played so differently here this season. I think largely because of the offensive system we're in, where there's a lot more freedom and a lot more. Okay, here, like now go do something with it. So I think for me, just my creativity in scoring really developed, like I still have ways to go. And I'm such a big believer in diversifying your scoring, like diversifying like the way that you put the ball in the hoop, just constantly like keep your defenders guessing, like I don't want to have it just be a one trick pony, so I think this season, what really like blossomed was just my offensive creativity and how I would get my points and how I was also able to help get other people points in my assists and in my drawing of defenders.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you about because really interestingly, your 3-point shooting went down. I mean,
I did.
0.4 point percentage is, not that big of a difference, but from your
Mhm.
freshman year, definitely a drop. But your 2-point scoring and your finishing around the rim took a massive jump. Was that something you prioritized in the offseason? Do you just think that came with getting more experience at the college level? Like now you're bigger, stronger, more athletic? Or was that like crafty finishing and, like you said, mentioned finding different ways to score? I think I noticed a couple times this year you had some really unique finishes through traffic. Was that something you prioritized in the offseason, would you say?
Not necessarily. I think that just came from a feel of the game, like being in the game. Obviously, like this was the most amount of minutes I played this season. Um, I just think it was like playing for as much as I did and playing against who I did because the Big Ten is obviously one of the most competitive conferences in the country. It was just like everything kind of started figuring itself out on. So I think also too, I started taking deep breaths when I got to the kind of got rid of that underclassmen habit. Because, like you said, it's my third year. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, but most importantly, I'm more knowledgeable now. So I just think that's what led to my higher 2 point percentage.
So would you say like it wasn't necessarily like that your game per se like changed drastically? You just got a bigger
Mhm.
role and you kind of stepped into the type
Yes,
of thing that you always thought that
exactly.
you could do, essentially.
That's 100%. I feel like, and obviously, like I'm already thinking ahead to next year. There's just so many things that I want to work on my game, and so many changes that I want to see actualize itself for next season. But like, of course, I still for sure took a jump from sophomore year to junior year. But I do credit a lot of that to the role I had here, and most importantly, the opportunity I had here.
You mentioned some of those changes you want to make maybe in this upcoming offseason. Going to have a little bit of rest first, I'd imagine. What are some of those changes you want to make to your game? What are you going to be focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of different avenues. It's from my ball handling to my decision making to my standstill 3 point percentage, and of course my mid range. Those are just some of them. Like there's a lot of different aspects that I want to keep on hitting, but I think those are ones that I showed like flashes of this season, but I want to get more consistent.
Have you and Brenda had your end of season meeting yet?
No, not yet.
What do you think she's going to tell you she wants to see? Like, what do you think that conversation is going to be like?
I mean, we've already like touched on it a little bit in terms of the things I said,
Yeah.
like because we talk a lot, so it's like that's already been brought up. But like for sure, our end of season meeting will really divulge and like go deeply into okay, like hey, like this isn't not only like is this what I need for next season, but here's how in the off season we're gonna get me there.
Yeah.
So
One thing that I noticed that you were doing a lot of, especially toward the end of the season, was kind of being the primary ball handler, right? Like you were creating a lot. And while that did come with increased assist numbers, you still had more turnovers than assists.
yeah,
In the offseason, when you're not playing as much 5-on-5 as you are in season or whatever, I guess I'm just wondering from a player's perspective, how do you improve on like making reads, like understanding how defenses are going to shift? Because not playing in a full speed type of way, I guess, in 5-on-5, I would just imagine it might make it a little difficult. So I'm wondering like how you, your trainer, Brenda, might go about like improving those type of reads you talked about.
Yeah, easily film. Like film is, I mean, one of the best coaches that there is because it doesn't lie. So I think watching myself, but also watching other people who are at the level that I aspire to be at is going to be very helpful. And I'm just going to be able to see and know, okay, I can take this and add this to my game and take this and add this to mine. And obviously just familiarizing myself with the typical reads that you see in game, even though all plays are not made alike, but there are some, repeated nuances that I do really want to make sure I get.
You mentioned some of that hard coaching is to help you, you know, realize and see some of your more long-term goals in basketball after playing at Maryland. What are some of those goals?
WNBA easily. Like Coach B, like she produces pros. That's not an opinion. That's a literal fact. And I am trying to be one of the next pros that she produces. So that's why everything looks the way it does. From her coaching me the way that she is, and just from the conversation that her and I have.
Have you talked to any of the Maryland players in the W? I mean, or even professionally, Diamond, Brianna, even abroad with Abby Myers, Cheyenne, I don't know. Like, have you got to chat with any of them or pick their brain?
No, I haven't had the opportunity to pick their brain. We went to one of AT's games here when they played the Mystics, so I thought that was so extremely cool to be able to see her like live in action. But no, I haven't had the opportunity to really pick brains.
Have you thought about doing that? Like, I guess in the future, like just trying to, as you get into your now senior season, the draft is obviously going to be probably on your mind, like trying
Yes.
to understand and like figure out what exactly you would want to figure out from W players.
For sure. Like that's definitely something I can see myself doing. I typically just pick Coach B's brain and
Not a bad
the coaching
person.
staff.
Not a bad
Yeah.
person.
So I mean like I just go right to the source, like what do I need to do? But yeah, I mean, as long as I'm getting my insight, my advice and being told what I need to do in order to get to that goal of mine, then I'm all set.
For next year, you guys are losing a lot of talent, right? Saylor, Yarden, big pieces of your starting lineup. Mir, who really came on at the end of the year. But you do have Addie Mack coming back, who I think really played well. You got some players coming back from injury, Bree and Kayleen. I'm curious, how do you think you fit alongside Addie in the backcourt? I'd imagine that's kind of, when you look at the roster next year, that can easily see being a really good starting backcourt in the Big Ten. How do you guys think your play styles fit? Because you both are scorers at heart, right? We had Addie on a few weeks ago, and that's like, she called herself like, I'm a scorer. I want to get better at distributing. That's kind of one of my big things. But I'm just curious, like, how do you guys see yourself fitting with each other next year?
Yeah, I mean, Addie and I, we've already, obviously having this season under our belt in terms of playing with each other, we understand both of our tendencies, and I think it's going to be great because anytime you play again with someone that you have so much history and chemistry with already, it only just keeps on getting better because you only keep on understanding how they play better. So I think it's going to be great. A lot of great talent returning, and like always, the coaches are going to do an amazing job and really putting together an A-list roster.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. You going to be doing any portal recruiting this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. So we'll just...
My guy Brendan here was saying, Brenda should just be posting that clip over and over and over to try to.
It's a great recruiting tool, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Get some portal heads up in college.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very well. Well, Oluchi, thank you so much for taking the time, and hope you get some rest to start off this offseason.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Great to hear Oluchi's thoughts about that. Guys, let's just dive right into it. Just after talking with her, and getting to kind of hear her perspective on it, I came away really impressed just with the relationship that her and Brenda have. Obviously, a moment that I think most people kind of came away from praising both of them. I think the players' humility and Brenda, just kind of the words and the purposeful words that she used. I think if you're going to get in a player's face and yell at them, they A, need to have a lot of trust in you, and B, the message needs to be purposeful. And it felt like telling her that she believed in her, but she needed to step up. I think it was the right thing to go off. So I have no problem with what happened. Obviously, the game didn't end up how Maryland wanted it to. I don't think that Oluchi probably played as well as she wanted to. But heading into next season, where she's going to be, dare I say, preseason all Big Ten team and maybe preseason all Big Ten player of the year, like she's going to be right up there with the conference odds. That's the type of stuff you like to see from your star player. So overall, kind of a crazy end to Maryland's season, but I think I came away from that moment at least impressed with the poise of Maryland's star player and their longtime head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you asked someone around the country who saw that clip, who do you think won that game? They'd probably say Maryland. I thought that was kind of the funniest part about it is, Maryland lost that game. Brenda Frese and Oluchi obviously went viral for that moment. We talked about it with her. Very cool. I think it's very cool for both of them. As Sam said, if you never know when you see a player and a coach kind of going at it like that, and it turned out to be a really super awesome moment. And after that point, Oluchi played much better. The couple possessions after that, she took over. Maryland tied the game back up. But hey, I mean, at the end of the day, viral clip, yes or no, Maryland lost that game by 8, and not really in a way that you would have expected. Yarden Garzon and Sailor Poffenbarger went a combined 0 of 16 from 3. You guys are shaking your heads. It was kind of ridiculous. It wasn't like they were just like airballing threes. Sailor probably had 5 threes in the second half that went around the rim but just didn't fall. And as a shooter, that has to be so, so, so frustrating. In a game, you lose by 8. In a game, you also miss 14 free throws. Oluchi went 3 of 11 from the line.
For both of them.
And both of their last college game for Sailor and Yarden, not the way they wanted to go out. I mean, I think obviously they had a lot of rest heading into the NCAA tournament. But at a certain point, they really only played 6 players in that final game of the season. So different than the conversation we were having in November. It's just it kind of felt like that, and I think this team was good enough to make the Sweet 16, and they couldn't do it despite all the injuries.
It was pretty disappointing to see how Yarden kind of closed out her career too, and this was a struggle that's been happening over this back half of the season now. To go 0 for 6 from 3 when you're the sniper that Maryland brings in the offseason is definitely tough. You're not going to win games like that. You're not going to win games when you miss half your free throws in the Big Ten tournament, when this is a team that had been depending on some of those free throws throughout the season. So, like you guys said, very disappointing loss, especially in the way they lost. But I also think that clip with Oluchi is going to help Maryland a lot in the offseason with getting recruits from the transfer portal who, like Oluchi said, if you want to be coached hard by a coach who will respect you at the same time, that's what Brenda Frese will give you. So I think that clip will very much help them. It shows the type of coach that Brenda is.
Yeah. I think you mentioned a good point, Michael. This game, you were never going to win this game if you were Maryland with your 2 forward options. And I thought in this game, that was where Maryland's advantage kind of lay, right? North Carolina, a good team, right? But they don't play a ton of bench players either. They got 6 bench points. Maryland actually, Kendall Walker had 10. She actually outscored the entire bench of North Carolina, right? Their entire starters played, high level minutes, and then their 6-woman Nyla Brooks played 30 almost. So it's not like that, you can really declare that to be a huge advantage, but it really came down to not only could Maryland, post presences and kind of stretch 4, stretch 5s, take advantage. They couldn't guard North Carolina's guards. Alina Arnisalo and Lainey Grant both went for 20 plus. They really couldn't stay in front of them. So if Maryland was going to win this game, they were going to have to use their size to really, I think, take advantage. And that didn't show up enough, I thought. You can't have that type of game from Sailor. You can't have that type of game from Yarden or Izzy for that matter. 0 points in only 3 minutes. Like it just wasn't enough from, I thought, their front court. And you brought up Yarden and Sailor. I think Sailor in her last season was kind of what she's been her whole career. Slight improvements on the margins. Yarden, despite taking the most 3-point attempts of her career, her percentages fell by nearly 4 points from her junior year. She shot over 40% from 3 her entire time at Indiana. And then she came to Maryland, and we were like, guys, she's going to get a ton of wide open shots. This is a perfect fit. And she shot 36.7%, right? Like, I think
which isn't actually horrible.
No,
but considering what she had done and considering how she ended the season, I can't believe that number is even that high.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also just like, if this team was, you needed her to be like hitting 4 to 5 threes every single night on good volume, right? She hit 2.5 per game around then on 7 attempts. Like, Still solid, right? She's still a solid Big Ten starter, but I think she was expected to be this team's second best player. And I don't think that you could sit here and really say that's she delivered on that, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, if you look at it, losing to a team that went 15-2 at home throughout their season and was a 4 seed isn't the worst thing in the world. But I think it's the reasons why Maryland lost, and B, just kind of the players that you would have hoped to have counted on just weren't good in the game in their biggest game of the season. So
yeah, I mean, they weren't going to beat UConn. I mean, like,
no, but
it would have been very nice to make a Sweet 16. That's the point, I think.
Is still a Sweet 16, and when a team turns it over 7 more times than you do, and you win the rebounding battle, albeit by 1 rebound, you should expect to win the game. But they had 3 assists, guys. 3 assists. They shot 32% from the field and 13% from 3. Like, it felt like UNC was in control of that game almost, for most of it. I know Maryland tied it up in the third, but I don't know. I thought the Tar Heels were the significantly better team. And it's just disappointing that a squad with probably, at the end of the day, 2 to 3 players who could make it in the W between Oluchi, Yarden, if a team wants her as a shooter, and then I still think Kayleen Smeichel, if she was healthy, to not even make it to the second weekend, that's a disappointing year for Brenda, I think. I really do, and I don't think we should shy away from the expectations they have. Anything short of a Sweet 16 with the roster they had, I think is kind of a slight disappointment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Just such a weird way for the group to end. Their transition defense is really kind of what killed them and got them behind in the game early, and they, as you said, tied it up. Couldn't end up, playing well enough in the fourth quarter to win. Two names we haven't mentioned yet. Addie Mack played decently. She was the only person who could make a 3. She went 3 for 5 and kind of kept them alive, kept them afloat in that first half. She had a solid game. She's going to continue to grow and get a lot better. And if she's a 4-year player at Maryland, will make a huge impact on this team. The other person you have to mention at the end of the season was Mira McLean. I mean, you could argue she was their most impactful player for the second half of the season. She played 32 minutes and scored 12 points and grabbed 14 rebounds in her.
What'd she have? She had almost 20 against Murray State, I want to say, right?
Yeah, let me fact check that for you real quick.
She had 19 in 30 minutes and 14 rebounds. 2 straight games in the NCAA tournament with 14 rebounds.
Yeah, she played so dang well in both those NCAA tournament games. They would have gotten blown out by more. Not that they got blown out, but they would have lost by a lot more to UNC if not for her. I think we summed it up. This team, at the end of the day, you could look back at this roster and they could have 6 people who end up playing professional basketball. Not making the Sweet 16 is overall disappointing. But you kind of knew that this team, if the fully healthy roster came into the season with Final Four aspirations, and just slowly dwindled throughout the year.
Michael, I want to ask you about, we're gonna have plenty of time to dissect next year's team and roster, and we know that this roster won't be set, but obviously bringing in a pretty talented freshman class. You got Mimi Thero, who's kind of a 4 or 5 star. I think she's a top 40 player. Super strong, physical scorer. Jordan Jackson also a really good forward. So they knew that they were going to have to kind of get in there and replace, some of those high level forwards that they're losing this year, right? So I want to ask you. Obviously, the backcourt is, I think, pretty set, right? You look at Addie, you look at Oluchi. Those are your kind of 2 cornerstones in that spot. If you can get Kendall to come back, I would not be surprised if Kendall Walker goes in the transfer portal. I think I'd almost kind of expect it at this point. Leah Bartolome is going to come back. Hopefully, Smeichel and Bree. I don't think you can really count on Bree McDaniel for minutes at this point. Like, I hate to say it because I love Bree as a player, but she's probably going to be injured. So if you had to, or not probably going to be injured, that sounds bad, but there's a good chance that she won't be fully back to the player that she once was.
Yeah. Well, at the start of the year, she'll take time, but also she has so much time to recover. That one's hard to know, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, now she's had 2 season-ending injuries. Like, that's just not something you no matter how much time you have, there might be just still some lasting damage. She'll be a
Well,
rotation player.
yeah, she didn't have an injury this year. She just didn't recover quick enough and took another year off.
Yeah,
But still, I know your point. I know your point.
I get what you mean. Anyway, Bree comes back, right? You have Kayleen, Addie, and Oluchi. I think are your kind of, and Kayleen are your 3 starters that you can really circle. If you had to kind of pinpoint the biggest need that Brenda needs to attack in the portal, it can be a position, it can be an element to the team. What would it be for you?
It would be post, It would be the post. And you saw Brenda trying to fix that issue earlier this past offseason with bringing in Gracie Merkel, and stuff happened there. And you can only imagine what this team would have been if she was on the roster, especially with all the injuries they had. But we've got to have a post player. I feel like the guards are going to be decent, and you've got to have a post player to play off of that. And I feel like the past few years that's been the biggest weakness of the Terps, is that they just don't have a dominant center post piece to work down low for this team. So if I'm Brenda, I'm shopping the portal again, trying to get a proven veteran post player to plug into this offense. Because you mentioned all the pieces that are coming back, Sam. Like, this roster on paper is very good, and there's probably going to be some departures. Maybe it's Kendall Walker, maybe it's someone we don't know yet. But you get that post piece, this roster starts to look a little bit more complete.
Who was their last good post player?
Brianna Jones? I don't know.
Yeah,
Sam, you might know better. I mean, I don't know the answer to this.
Legitimate, throw it down low, and go get a bucket. They haven't had that since I've been in college, for sure.
Angel Reese?
Yeah, probably Angel.
Yeah. Angel Reese. I feel like I'm missing someone. Faith wasn't really that player. Like, Ali Kubek wasn't really that player either. Like, it was
both kind of pick and pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with those players, I feel like they're playing out of position, like, especially with Ali. Like, you look at the player she was at Towson versus the role she was playing at Maryland. Like, they're playing players out of their skill set a little bit.
I do want to say, so Mimi Thero she's like a forward, right? But she can definitely play. She's 6'5". I think there's videos of her dunking out there. Like, I think they're going to kind of try to fit her in. I did like some of the flashes that Izzy showed this offseason. I think she could be a really solid backup big with another season. I think a post is a good pick. Really quick, Brendan, before I give mine, what would you kind of say is something that they need to attack in the portal?
Yeah, I think this might sound weird. I think defense would probably be a big thing. Mira McLean was the reason they had so much success the second half of this season and were able to get some of those big wins. Someone you can put in who can guard pretty legitimately 1 through 5. They have some of those people now, but a Mira McLean type vet, maybe who spent 4 years, someone else who spent taking a grad year, who's you're not going to expect them to score more than 5 points a night. Obviously, Mira ended up doing that because of injuries, but someone they can count on to put in late game situations to be a smart player and play defense would be the type of person I would go after in the portal.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam? What do you got?
You took mine. Yeah, I was going to say a really good perimeter defender, but I'll go with something different. I think they need a facilitator, right? Like, this team, they didn't have Oluchi. Basically at the end of the season became their kind of main point guard. I love Addie Mack. I think she's going to be a great player. She averaged 2 assists a game. Oluchi, 2 assists a game. Like, there wasn't a significant, really, Kendall Walker was probably the most natural kind of distributor. I know I like what Rainey Wilson can be. I know they really are high on Leah Bartolome if she can come back. So maybe that's their, like, they see her as being that distributor. I mean, she was starting at the beginning of the year, if people forget. But I think I would like to go get a proven ball handler and distributor. That way you can just kind of give in an insurance, right? She doesn't even have to start, but just have somebody who can really set your offense up and allow Addie and Oluchi to do what they do best, which is score, right? And I think that that's something that I would look at maybe in the portal. But I think all 3 things we hit on are three things that Brenda's going to be looking for. Because, Mike, I do think this team returns some talent.
Definitely.
But a lot of that talent is also somewhat unproven, right? We can sit here and say, oh, Bree would fit in well. Leah Bartolome would play well. Like, they're both coming off injuries. Kayleen Smeichel just had a massive injury, and there's still questions, I think, about what her kind of ideal role on this team would be, right? So, like, they're going to need to get some proven players. And Brenda's shown she's willing to do that, but it's definitely something I think they're going to address in the offseason. And we'll have plenty of time to dissect it moving forward.
Yeah. No, on assists, yeah, Sailor and Yarden led the team in assists, so obviously you have to fill that up there. We're going to have to see how many spots they actually can bring in the transfer portal based on who comes out. Only 3 seniors graduating eligibility. That's all we got for women's basketball. We'll continue to keep you updated on all the transfer portal news. The biggest news from today, however, spring practice for football started. Mike Locksley, what a fun person to talk about, had his first press conference in 2026 for the spring season. Had some interesting quotes for Maryland fans, maybe some painful quotes. What are you guys' takeaways from his press conference today?
I mean, it's just so ironic to hear Michael Locksley get up there and say, like, we need to do less talk and more action, essentially, was, I think, his quote. Like, no kidding, man. Like, and you've been the guy who's driven the slogans, driven the mantras, right?
Yeah.
Like, every year it feels like he gets up, and I know this is what press conferences are for, right? And Brendan always says this, that ultimately they don't really matter, and he is right. But I do think that when you're a coach that's like trying to win over the public's eye, like, get up there and like try to, I don't know, not authentic isn't the right word, because I do think Loxley's like somewhat authentic, but try to come up with a message that actually resonates and not just what you think fans want to hear. And that's the vibe that I get. Last year, it's like, okay, we want to be more of a professional developing team, right? It's no longer the best is ahead, it's the best is now. And now this year you're saying we have too many slogans, we need to be more about winning. Like, you're the reason that those things are happening. And you also contradicted yourself, because then you talk about all the returning talent that we have, and we're returning 68% of our starters. That's great. You're returning 68% of your starters from a team that was bad last year, like very bad.
Yeah, this was my point. If the basketball team returns 100% of their starters from this year, or 100% of their roster, I hope not, because then they'll be terrible. Like, that's like the most meaningless stat of all time, returning talent.
I will push back against that a little bit, because a lot of that talent coming back is young guys. So that's, the positive side.
Sure.
You can view that and be like, well, they got a lot of experience last year on a bad team. They're going to come back. They're going to learn from those experiences. But again, like you are saying, it was a 4-8 team. You're bringing back, 71% of production from that team?
Yeah. I don't know. It just, Mike, tell me if I'm wrong, but it just felt like all the sound bites are just...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like you said, like, he creates the slogans. He's the guy who said, if we get one more win than we did last year in the Big Ten, that's progress. And they end up with the same spot that they were in last year. Like, he sets this team up for failure and for the sound bites and for the talking points that we later talk about on this show. He sets that up.
Yeah.
But
it just...
he also says he doesn't feel the pressure. He doesn't feel the pressure. He 1000% feels the pressure. If he does not win this year, he is out. He is out. That's why he got rid of his offensive coordinator. Didn't get rid of him. He's still on the staff making $1 million. But that's why he has a new offensive coordinator in the building, because he feels the pressure. Would he have done that to his buddy Pep if he didn't think if they don't win next year, he's gone? No. He knows that he's got to win this year.
Yeah. I mean, so are we giving up on the sign that's leave your Louis outside of the door?
Yeah, he is.
I was gonna ask about that.
Hey, this was the message at last year's presser, and now a year later we're saying we need to talk less. I just
smile more.
It just is the same refrains over and over again. Nothing is easy at Maryland. We don't feel the pressure, right? Like, this is my dream job. I'm so happy to be here. We need to pull... He said something, essentially. Let me read the quote. As they pull the hood up on our football program, they, I think, referencing the administration, I think they saw that we've got some nice parts inside of it, and we just needed a little time to allow it to grow.
Well, that time is year 8.
Yeah, this is year 8. So, and no matter
year 8, this cannot be real life.
No matter what we can say about Locksley, right? Like, it's never been like all about talent. They've had talented teams. They've had solid groups, right? This has not been the biggest issue. Their biggest issue is that they have constantly failed to played to the level of talent that they have. And I don't think this is one of Loxley's most talented teams. I don't care that they returned the second most productions in the FBS or whatever that stat is. I don't care that they brought in a 5-star edge rusher. Like, this team is still at its core, until they show me differently, it is still a team that you cannot sit here and legitimately tell me is ready to strive and reach the levels that Loxley has proclaimed them ready to be at.
They're never going to reach those levels until he's gone.
I don't even care who the roster is. With Mike Locklear as the head coach of Maryland football, they very simply have invented new ways to lose football games.
Right.
And until proven otherwise, they could have the best roster, one of the best rosters in the country. You could give him Indiana's roster from last year, and I still wouldn't have as much confidence in them to win, because with him at the helm, they have very simply lost games in ways that fall a lot on coaching.
If Maryland had Indiana's roster last year, they go 7-6 and win the Military Bowl.
You think that's true?
Yeah.
Really? Well, I mean,
hey man, that's
crazy. They probably win a couple more games, but it's Maryland football, dude. I have no confidence in them. This is probably the way Indiana fans felt for a really long time, actually. Like, didn't matter for them the same situation Maryland is in. Didn't matter because they had the very same issue. They would lose football games in ridiculous ways, and until proven otherwise, they just kind of know, that's Indiana football.
All you got to do is look at that 3-game stretch last year, Washington to UCLA, where each game, at the end of the game, they lost in a different way in a close game.
It's coaching and discipline.
Washington, they blow it. Nebraska, they can't get the score at the end. UCLA, they do get the score, and then the defense gives up the game-winning field goal in 30 seconds. Like, it's just every season. The penalties, too. It's a recurring thing. Loxley says, we've gotten better at penalties this year. They're still bottom 5 in the Big Ten in 2025. Like, I don't know. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating as someone who's watched Maryland their whole life to just repeatedly see this happen.
Well, I mean, you guys should take solace in the fact that Indiana's roster was coached by a Nick Saban disciple, which
very true. Very good point.
Loxley's been in those rooms. He's been around those conversations. He's coached under Saban. This is the reason to have hope.
Shall we pull up the 2018 Alabama roster?
Oh, Mike, we did this a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's like, what a silly thing to say, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, man, just get up there and, you know what I would appreciate from Loxley? Get up there and be like, listen, your guys are right. I have to win this year. There's no question about it, right? He's not going to say that, but like, this is like the year I have to have it, because we have a good quarterback. We have a returning talent. I like this team. I don't think I've done a good enough job in the past couple years. I really think that we're going to try to keep our head down and just actually try to win games this season. I'm not going to sit here and make any promises about how many games we're going to win, because that would be foolish. But I know that I have talent in our young roster, and I'm excited to see what they can do. You know what?
Well, when Maryland's hiring next year, that sounds pretty dang good. You should throw your name in the hat. Put your name in.
That's not a perfect message, but at least it's a message that is honest and like takes some accountability.
Well, if you look at the police report, you can see what's going on. He's an unreal guy.
Anyway, crazy stuff.
Switching to a team that also loses in the same way repeatedly, Maryland baseball.
Oh no!
Oh, here we go.
Tonight we're recording this after Maryland lost
another loss
to number 9 Virginia. It's now a 5-game losing streak for the Terps. They lost 16-6. Today they gave up 9 runs in the 8th inning to absolutely make this game a blowout when they had a shot and they were leading at some points of this game.
Wait, so Michael, those wins against Troy weren't, what were they? What'd you call them? Season defining?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what to say about this roster anymore. It's like you can see that there are pieces. You can see that there are pieces there where this can be a good team, but I mean, you lose your Big Ten opener at home to Purdue. You look at Purdue's roster; they out-transfer portaled Maryland. Obviously, if they lost that game, they lose at Richmond. Then after that, then they lose at UCLA. that's a tough series to kind of
No,
evaluate.
They didn't just lose, Michael. We're not.
They got swept. They got swept. They
And
got
not
swept.
only did they. What was the run differential, Mike? What
It was
was it? I think. Can I just say the
Yeah.
scores for our audience really quick? 12-2 in 7 innings. 8-3, 14-4. They gave up in 2 games. Sorry, they gave up more runs in 2 games than the amount of runs they scored the entire series.
Mike, I think I asked you like before
Silence.
we went on break. Silence is loud. Silence is loud.
It is.
Mike, I asked you before we went on break, like what would be, a good record starting at the West Virginia game, through the Richmond game for the rest of the month. And I think you said like 500, right above 500, and they are going to be nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. Where does this team go from here, Mike? That is my question to you.
I hate to say it, but the season is just starting to feel a little lost at this point.
Oh no!
Honestly, you go back.
They've played good teams, but to be good, you have to beat good teams. It's not going to sugarcoat it.
They've crushed Mikey Scoops. What do they have left?
We should have known from the Louisiana series when they blew those 2 games that this was. I don't know. I still think it's progress, to use Mike Loxley's terms. It's still progress if they can make the Big Ten tournament, something they haven't done under Swope yet. There's a lot of season left. But
they're about to be 11 and at least 15.
Yeah, I mean, now they're gonna have to play 13 USC. That it's just brutal. Like I don't
go at Ohio State.
Yeah, this March is gonna be a month to forget for Matt Swope's terms.
Oh God. Oh God.
Dude, it is. We are living in a graveyard of Maryland athletics. Like this is just.
What is going on here, guys? I can't figure it out. Football and basketball have the worst winning percentage, or men's basketball and football have the worst winning percentage of all Power 4 schools across the country. The one thing we're supposed to be good at, lacrosse, is having a super down year. Baseball is not going to probably make the Big Ten tournament. You know what we do have?
They still could. They still could. Great. You know what we do have, though? Do you know what sport is an absolute wagon right now, Mike?
Women's lax, baby. Come on.
Women's lacrosse. Let's talk about something. Let's clap it up for women's lacrosse.
Yeah,
Come on, guys.
Kathy. Congrats to Kathy.
Women's lacrosse is an absolute wagon right now. They have taken every challenge they've had so far this season, and they have met it, and they have played very, very well. Since we last recorded, they beat Oregon, Penn, and USC. 3 games we expect them to win, but they're winning in a dominating fashion, and these games never really feel super close. The closest game Maryland had all year was a Friday night game, or Friday afternoon game against St. Joseph's, like a very weird game. They're going to face their biggest test so far this year at Johns Hopkins on Thursday afternoon. Johns Hopkins ranked 7th in the country, Maryland 3rd. This is a very good Johns Hopkins team, but I don't think they're quite at the echelon of where Maryland's playing from a defensive side, from a goalkeeper side, and specifically Maryland's offense. Lauren LaPointe has been, if not the best player on this team, one of the top 3 players on this team. Not a jump I necessarily expected her to make coming into this year. She has looked so dang good. They'll also get Penn State on Sunday. This team's a wagon. The way that if they can beat Johns Hopkins, and then they can have a legitimate chance to they play Northwestern and Michigan still, but
April's a tough stretch. Like this is the one,
but this team has a chance to finish the regular season undefeated because of how Northwestern has been this year and the way Maryland's played.
Until
Michigan's good. They have a chance.
Until they beat Northwestern, man, I gotta see it. I don't think they definitely have, but I don't think they've beaten Northwestern since we got to college. Maybe
I have to think. No, they may not have. Let me look that up.
I don't think so. It's a tough stretch, right? And once they get to April, that's the one caveat, is they haven't played as tough of a schedule as they normally do. This is absolutely the best team on campus right now. I think that they're starting to find their stride offensively. They're really showing a lot of scoring diversity, which is something I mentioned that they needed to do more of. JJ Soriano is incredible. She's become one of, if not the best goalies in the country. I'm really, really excited to kind of see how they handle this. They play 4 ranked teams the rest of the way, or 5 ranked teams. Sorry, Ohio State just slid into the rankings. So I'm really excited to see what they do. They're going to be in the mix for a Big Ten title, and then once they get to the tournament, like I think we talked to Kathy before the year. She kind of had a quiet air of confidence about her with this team. I felt like she was very clearly encouraged by the transfer additions. Brendan, you were hyping up the Penn transfer, Keely Block, for a while. Like, she's been awesome to start the year. I think they think that I still stand by the fact, I don't know if this is one of the more talented teams that we've seen come through, but I think they're playing some of the best lacrosse that we've seen just this stretch. Program's best start since 2019. I'm really, really encouraged by where they sit. And I'm looking forward to, again, see how they fare this week against Johns Hopkins. Will be their toughest test of the season quite yet.
Yeah, no, this team, I think you mentioned it. I'd also describe this team as being a very smart team. They're winning in a tactical way. They're playing for each other. It's a fun team to watch. I will. You talked about the Maryland Northwestern, kind of rivalry. The last time Maryland beat Northwestern was in 2022 in April. So we would not have been on campus yet. Before that, they beat them in 2019. So you were right. You're right. It's a monkey on the back. I think this team can do it.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. And they have, the Johns Hopkins game this week is a huge test, and I think it will be another indicator of where this team stands. If they take down Johns Hopkins pretty handedly, which I don't think they could beat them that handily, but I expect Maryland to win this game. They've looked better than Johns Hopkins has this year.
Definitely. With that, guys, can I make a proclamation? I don't know if I've done this on the podcast, but I'd like to make a statement. Michael, I'd like you to listen up for this.
Yeah, come on, Mike. Lock in.
The gavel has been raised. Sitting on March 24th at 9:19 p.m., Judge Samuel Jane officially declares the Maryland men's lacrosse season as dead. It's done.
Oh, no.
They're not making the NCAA tournament. It's cooked.
Wow.
It's over. They're 3-4 now. They still have to play Ohio State, Rutgers, and Johns Hopkins. I don't think that this team can win the Big Ten tournament, which at this point I think is really the only way they would make it to the NCAA tournament. I think it's over. I think this is the worst, inarguably the worst season under John Tillman. It's a disappointment because I thought this team was very good entering the preseason. I think we all had high hopes for it, and it's just been a disaster. They lost to Penn State again, a team they've struggled with in the past, but this time 10-6, just could not getting anything going offensively. And that was coming off 2 straight wins, one against Delaware and then a 3 overtime game against Virginia. So you thought, maybe they're kind of pulling some momentum together. I don't think Virginia's even that good this year, but
and Maryland lost their best defender, Will Schaller, in that game. So
right, yeah, exactly.
Brutal, really brutal.
You get back one of your best offensive players, Eric Spanos, who had missed 3 games, and then they score 6 goals. Like, I just think it's done. I think it's cooked. We can officially say it. I don't think this team is making the tournament, which at this standard of the program, with this type of talent, is an abject failure.
Yeah. I won't push back that much. I mean, that Penn State game, it's kind of been the formula for them losing all year. And they finally hold the team to 10 goals, but because they couldn't win a faceoff really in the first quarter, Joni Carrier went 2 for 7 on faceoffs, his worst game of the year. Penn State went up early, and this game actually was close. Maryland, they were down 6-2. It was 6-7 in the fourth, and then allowed 3 goals to end the game, and Maryland couldn't win it. They haven't had the killer instinct that previous teams have had. They were up on UVA, they couldn't put them away, and they haven't gotten out to strong enough starts to control games. Because of how talented and how strong this team was preseason. They're still actually ranked not too poorly. They're ranked somehow 12th in the country. But
if they didn't have the Maryland thing on their chest, there would be nothing there.
No, I agree with you. If they win out, they could probably get an at-large bid and they pick up a win in the Big Ten tournament. Like, I don't think all hope is lost. They should beat Michigan this weekend. Michigan has not been very strong, but at this point, I wouldn't have a ton of confidence for Maryland to do that. But Maryland should beat Michigan. And then, they really haven't shown with that much confidence they can beat ranked teams with any confidence, really. So the stretch of Ohio State, Rutgers, Johns Hopkins, they're going to have to find a way to win those games to have a good shot of making the NCAA tournament. I see a world in which this team goes 3-1 to end the year. I see a world in which this team goes 2-2, and I see a world in which this team goes 1-3. But it's Maryland lacrosse, and they could also win the Big Ten tournament and get in. But I just don't necessarily feel that at this moment with this team. It's a weird thing to say about Maryland men's lacrosse. Sam obviously brought his gavel and declared something. It's not a good look. I'll say that.
Definitely not. It's a dire time for Maryland athletics, but shout out the gymnastics team competing in the region NCAA tournament regionals where they'll definitely get bounced.
Woo!
But they are.
Hey, but they are so good at making that. Hey,
hey, one thing you can always count on as a Terp fan is if you come to the Under the Shell podcast, you're going to get a great end to it. Brendan, give us terrific Terp to take us away.
Hey, let's do it. Death, taxes, terrific Terps, baby. And for this week's one, we're actually going to talk about the team that just got selected to the NCAA regional gymnastics team. For these terrific Terps, we got two this week. Let's head back a few years, actually to a place near my hometown. This gymnastics journey for sisters Rhea and Sophie LeBlanc started in Waltham, Massachusetts. Sophia arrived on campus at Maryland in 2020, while Rhea joined her sister 2 years later with the Terps in 2022. Both had a lot of high school success. Rhea attended Waltham High School, while Sophia went to Arlington Catholic. Rhea won the Massachusetts state title in bars in 2018, and she got second in all-around that year. She came back the next year in 2019, and she won floor and also all-around in mass. That same year, she finished 9th in the Junior Olympic qualifier. Rhea competed at regionals in all 4 years she was a Terp, with her best performance being a 9.9 last year's regional during her senior year. For Sophia, she had a career high at a region. Sophia had two career highs at her regional meet, a 9.8 at both the beam and a 9.8 on the floor during her sophomore year. Sophia did not compete during her senior year, but then she competed at Springfield College in 2024. The sisters, who both had strong performances at regional meets, are this week's terrific Terp. And to actually learn a little more history about regional performances for the Terps, I recommend you tune into next week's episode of Under the Shell with head coach of the gymnastics team, Coach Nelligan. That's all I got, boys.
Way to plug it there at the end, Brendan.
We don't always do that, but
another great way to end off this episode of another great terrific Terp. As always, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere you find your podcasts. Hopefully we can talk a little bit more Maryland baseball next week with a great weekend against USC. We'll see you, though.
We'll talk about it, guys. I mean,
my gavel might be coming down next week.
oh, baby. All right. See ya.
See ya.
You're listening to Under the Shell Podcast. After all these years, still the best in America.